put everything in these beautiful poetry and talks about nature, how certain birds at a certain time of day will do this and that, and he dedicates a lot of it to his wife and stuff. He was Rosicrucian, so he had a different take on life than normal. But he wrote all these beautiful prose and poetry in this book. And then along came our friend. His name is Ben, B-E-N-N, and he's in Australia. And he says, that's my life's work. I'm here to decode that. And so for 3 years, he went in and decoded it. And on the website, you'll have the original version, which was written on an old typewriter by Carr in those days, and then the decoded version, which was put in by Ben, that shows not only and tells not only the details, but shows you how the angles and sacred geometry is absolutely important. Because if you get right angles in a corner, you've got echoes, you've got signals that are bouncing. But everything in nature basically is round. It doesn't seem that way because we look at square buildings and stuff, but anything that's very efficient is round. An example is if you live in snow country, you wouldn't build a flat roof because the weight of the snow is going to crush it. So we build a round roof or a pointed roof. When we built the underground house in Arizona, we were intending to put the round dome over the top so that well, it was a dome, but it was out of the stuff that's in the sunglasses that dims the
Polaroid.
What is it called? Polaroid? Yeah. So that because the garden on the top of the underground house was to be able to water itself, to take care of itself. We had all kinds of little miniature things operating so that when the temperature got low enough. By the way, it's very important, the temperature of water. If it changes just a degree or two, you're going to get water that's not as good as cool water. Without getting into that, you can read the works of Victor Schomburger, and he'll tell you about the importance of temperature of water. And why I brought that up is what is it, foresting, where they're cutting down all the timbers, clear cutting. They're ruining the water because the water can't stand that heat. When it gets too hot, it changes the density of the water. The water changes its activity. It doesn't purify itself. In running water, every 2 feet, you can drink it, no matter what happens, when it's running down the way it should. And it's supposed to be meandering. That's very important to meander because you get the eddy currents of vortices that create magnificent water. But when we put it in aqueducts, it's kind of dead water going from A to B, and it's very dense and it's not. Well, anyhow, you can look into Victor for that. Okay, well, so the pods. Oh, I got to tell you this because I knew it would come up. We talked about the bumblebee a little while ago, and for those of you that didn't get the full picture, when I left academia, which I got tired of them telling me only part of the story, I decided to go back to nature because I learned the full story instantly when I worked with the laws of nature. So one of the people that worked with us, with Carr, two of the people, was Wayne and his brother Art Bajo. And Wayne was our PR man. He did all publicity. He's the one that called General Motors and so forth for us. But Arthur was an author of a book called Tomorrow's Energy Need Not Be Fuel. And it's in the Library of Congress if you can't find it, but it's a very interesting book. And, how do I go there?
maybe you can have the new things that will build lost material, is that right?
Oh yeah, well, so,
Is that right?
yeah, I get off on these tangents and I get somewhere else and forget where I'm at.
The bumblebee.
Huh?
The bumblebee.
Oh, the bumblebee.
Talking about picking up those things.
Yeah, I'm gonna, that's coming up, that's why I'm getting to it.
Okay.
When I met Arthur Aho, he explained to me, yeah, the bumblebees don't fly, they levitate. And he says, come on, I'll show you. And he showed me the principles involved naturally on how bumblebees operate. They, through the beating of the wings, just like when you're beating a drum, you hit a certain frequency, you hit a certain beat. They beat until they hit a certain frequency. And this, next to their larynx, is a little hollow tube. This is a resonator tube, like the didgeridoo that came out of Australia, where you can blow into it, create these magnificent vibrations. The bumblebee, by beating its wings, creates this vibration that's going back and forth. And when it's beating efficiently enough to reach the surroundings, which in this case we'll say Earth 8.7 or 7.8, depending on your hertz. That's the frequency it's operating. Then you've reached 0 point. When you reach 0 point, you're free. And it creates its own little bubble, a magnetic bubble around it, and it can go anywhere it wants because it's freed itself from what we call gravity. Gravity is a misnomer. It's really magnetism. It's all going magnetism, but we call it gravity to dissect it into pieces. So, fish don't swim. Now you have to look, Victor Schomburg, this is your homework from the workshop. If you want to know some interesting things, fish don't swim either. They swam. Now you have to go to Victor Schomburg to find out what that means. But what it is the magnetic fields. There's a charge coming in from the air, and there's a charge coming in from the earth. And in the water, that charge is everywhere. It's not just in one space. But when the fish want to move, they have to only get into that charge and just flip their tail one time, and they can go 15 miles an hour really fast without swimming, without trying. And that's swim. And in Victor's book, he'll tell you all about it. Birds don't fly, they flown. That's his word for it. They don't really fly. They also have a form of levitation too. Now this sounds bizarre compared to our conventional ways of looking at things, but that's why we're having this to share with you some of the unconventional things that are real and are happening naturally.
Don't forget dolphins, they do that too.
The what?
Dolphins do that too.
Dolphins. Lizards. Some lizards actually levitate. Oh God. Hummingbirds. Form of levitation. But back to the pods. So for years the pods have been working on alternative energies, and we're exchanging ideas, and everybody's getting in touch with everybody else. But because of the previous experiences of inventors and explorers of being shut down or put on a shelf or actually killed, they decided, let's reach that invisible line where if we go one more step, they're going to kill us, and stay there and wait until the consciousness of the people raises to the point where they say, I'm tired of the old ways, let's see what you guys got. And we have things waiting in the wings that are beyond words. I can't even, it's beyond description. But the lighting alone, I mean, no more of electric lights like this. Everything is luminescent. And the lights, when you walk anywhere, it's always lit up for you. And no danger of electrical shocks or anything, because these are run with vibrations, if that word will fit for you. It's just all vibrations, frequencies. And when you interact with that, when you're synergized with nature, you can change things. So you can come into a room and relax I'm metaphoring, and I'm not getting it exactly how it is because it's easier than that. But you can relax, and the room is illuminated in any way you'd like it to be illuminated. Well, anyway, there's people that we're working on that, and bioluminescence of how we have the ability to be a bioluminescence, like the fireflies and some of the deeper fish in the ocean. You know, the cuttlefish and everything are bioluminescent. This is something we can do for ourselves, and this is what we've got pods working on that. We got pods in Peru working on 3D printers. They went off on a shoestring, and now they're producing 3D printers for people that want them, or they're giving the plans open source on the computer. You can build your own. They're not as hard to build as people would think. And by the use of 3D printers, we've saved Ben, which was going to machine shops to get pieces to build his craft. We ran into, or they ran into us, Foster Gamble and Kimberly and Goa Lombard. Goa Lombard was the one that, the Taurus, if you've ever seen the movie Thrive, created all the graphic arts and everything. And so, and he's a friend of ours. And he said, come on down because Foster wants to meet you. So we went to Santa Cruz, met Foster and Kimberly. And while we were there, he said, let me show you my lab. So we went down to his lab.
And we're talking about
Goa Lombard, that's his name. And we went down to his lab, and here sits a 3D printer. He just built it a week ago. I mean, it's all there. He just put it together. And he's got a laptop sitting next to it. And he says, I'll show you the process. I've hooked up with Ben in Australia for parts. And I said, and I told Ben, send me the specs, what you need. You need this kind of, you need right angles, left angles, or whatever you need. Send me the specs and the measurements, and via the computer. And I'll make them for you and send them back out of polymer. It doesn't have to be steel anymore for the prototypes. When we get into the greater things, then we can change the material. But for now, polymer was working. So Marsha and I were standing there. Well, Ben said, we need this part, and he programmed it into the 3D printer. And what was it, 5 minutes? Not even 5 minutes. Pulled out the part. He said, there it is. Stronger than steel. I mean, it was really solid. He put it in an envelope. I'm metaphoring again, but he put those parts in the envelope and sent them off to Ben. So that reduced the cost of building the prototypes.
Ben is our pod that decoded the book, Dimensions of Mystery, but he also has built a levitating prototype, and it's actually off the ground now.
We just got word yesterday that we're completely satisfied with our prototype as far as we're going. It's up and running, operational, and we're ready to deliver that to the collective consciousness. When they say, we've had enough of being told we have to do this and we have to spend this and we can't do this, when people get enough of that and say, what do you got? Then we're going to open all our doors. And we've just been told not too long ago, when we were shut down in Apple Valley, Hesperia,
This is with Otis Carr.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Building the ship, building the
Yeah,
craft.
building a craft. They confiscated everything. They went into our files. They went into everything was confiscated. And in that was some of Tesla's books that he given to Carr. And we thought, well, they were lost forever. But some of them were not lost. We didn't know that then, but we got a call a while back. Huh? Yeah, but be careful. I mean,
We got a call from a lady that thought that I had called her. I don't know. She was looking for Ralph, and she left a message on our machine, our phone at home. So I said, what is this all about? Anyway, we called her back. I called her back and said, well, Ralph's right here. Well, she said, what did she call her? I'm an experiencer. And I said, what does that mean? You know, have you been picked up by craft or what? No, she actually talks to the people that have gone on. She's actually like in contact with people that are on the other level, other side, other vibration. And she said that she had been contacted. She was sitting in an overstuffed chair in her home, and she had a person just come right beside her on the arm of her chair, and he said, I need your help. Please help. Please help was his words. And then he disappeared. Where she said, I don't know this person. Tell me what you need help with. Well, about a month or two later, she was reading Michael Sala's last book, his new book, and she saw a picture of Wayne Aho. It was Wayne Aho that Ralph had worked with, and with Otis Carr. And she said, oh my gosh, that's who said, please help me. So she contacted Michael Sala.
No, not Wayne Aho, it was Otis Carr.
No, it was Wayne.
Wayne Aho, that's right.
She knew nothing about Ralph at that time. So she contacted Michael Sala because that was his book that she saw the picture in, and Michael Sala said, that belongs to Ralph Ring. So that's why she was, I don't know how she called me to get to Ralph Ring, but anyway, go ahead.
Well,
I thought the story of how that came about was pretty...
It doesn't belong to Ralph Ring, it belongs to everybody, but so she contacted us and said, I have all this material that suddenly has come up from being buried for years that has never been exposed anywhere else but here. It was not dumped, but given to this.
Actually, it was found. It was Wayne Aho's wife had it, and when she passed, another friend had it, and then they gave it to her, thinking that she might be able to find out where it belonged.
And it was all buried material that had been out of circulation for a long time. Well, now it's surfaced. It's coming back, and the full extent of the OTC experience will finally put all the pieces back together. And Aaron's been working with us. When that happens, the details, hopefully, if they don't get confiscated before we get to pick them up, if we have to go pick them up, we're going to put them open source on our website so that people can see and act on it the way they feel. If they want to build their own or look into it or share it with somebody else. And that's happening very, very quickly now. This month we're going to be taking a journey and getting, there's crates, 6 crates full of material that were set aside.
But it's exciting because of the way it came to
It's been taken up from the underground and put into a safe place and waiting for the snow to melt so we could get over the pass to, because there's quite a bit of snow. So that's happening now, and we've notified the pods that are working on alternative ideas. We've notified them that it's coming, and as soon as we get it, we'll share it with you guys first, so that you can get first ideas of what's happening. The pods are now in a holding pattern. They're ready to go. They've got different unbelievable things that are working. I mentioned the 3D printers, now 4D printers, and then in Morocco we've got Hope Girl. I don't know if you've ever heard of Hope Girl. She's one of our pods there, and she's got energy machines that have already proven themselves to work, but we're told that to stop or we'll kill you. So,
Is that the QEG group?
Yes.
yes. So she's gone into the shadows in a holding pattern along with all the other pods that we have out there, waiting for people to say, I've had enough. I want the truth. You guys have been giving me half the truth. And this technology that the black ops are using now is 100 years ahead of us. That's how far back we are. They've got electromagnetic craft that they're using right now. They're not magnetic. There's a difference between pure magnetism and electromagnetism. Electromagnetism is dangerous. You can fire lasers with it and through it and so forth, and you can have a lot of problems. In pure magnetism, weapons are useless. They're not allowed. You can't use them. You can't have accidents in pure magnetism. There's no way you can crash. No maintenance, no repair. You're working on pure magnetic energy, which is the energy we're breathing, and it's everywhere. We're living in a whole ocean of energy, and that's the energy that we don't generate to produce electricity. We vibrate like